Hey guys, welcome to your community groups. This is Brett. I'm the student pastor at the Wilmington campus. Glad you guys are there and in your community groups for week 3, the final week of our squad series. Hope it has been a great series for you guys to have conversation about your small group and your friends and how you can make an impact in the world around you. Want to make sure we are reminding you to make sure you sign up for the ski trip. It is one of the best trips we do. It is so fun. It's a smaller group of students. It's in January, but you need to sign up now if you are planning to be a part of that. Get your deposit in. Get your the forms filled out. You go to the website right down here to get all the information about the ski trip and to sign up and do all that stuff online. So make sure you're signing up for the ski trip, and also just make sure, a reminder, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. Make sure you're keeping up to date on everything that's happening in Ripple Effect. And those are two of the best ways to make sure you're staying connected to everything that's going on at Ripple Effect. Oh, and make sure you use the hashtag too, PC3RealLife. We want to see what's going on in your community groups. Take a picture of your friends, take a picture of what's going on, and post it using that hashtag. And who knows, maybe we'll repost your picture. You'll get famous, get lots more likes, lots more follows. That's the whole point anyway, right? All right, see you guys next week here in Studio 3 as we kick off a brand new series for Ripple Effect. See you then.
Hey, what's up guys? Jeff here. I am the Ripple Effect coordinator, and if you've been here the past couple of weeks, you know that we've kind of been in the midst of this series called Squad. Best title ever. And it's really just about how we are in community, both with the people who are in our group of friends, in our squad, the people who we don't really like in it. And tonight we're actually going to be tackling kind of a weird one that you might not think of. And it's going to require us to get really honest, and it's about the people who we don't really pay attention to at all. So the first week we talked about what we do with our friends, right? And how whenever it came to the people in his squad, Jesus acted different than anyone would expect him to. And the second week we talked about our enemies and how whenever it came to the people that we really don't like, we have to be intentional about praying that God will change our hearts towards them. And today we're going to talk about the people that we don't pay attention to at all. And what I really mean by that is the people that you see at school and you don't pay any mind to, or the people maybe you don't even really see them, or the people that you see around the community or see in your groups of friends that you don't really talk to at all, right? Because there's always those people. There's the people we like, there's the people we don't like, and then there's the people we don't pay attention to. And the truth is, and this is where we're going to have to be really honest, is that the truth is whenever it comes to who we're friends with and it comes to who we hang out with, we tend to kind of gravitate towards people who can do stuff for us. And I don't mean to say that to like make us feel selfish or make it seem like we're bad for doing that. And maybe you feel like you don't, but the truth is if you really think about it, that's what we do. Like for example, and yes, we have friends for a lot of other reasons besides just what they can do for us. But chances are our friendship wouldn't have grown as much as it has, or the people wouldn't be in our squad that are in our squad if it wasn't for what they can really do for us. Whether that looks like raising your social status or taking you on sweet vacations, right? Or whatever that looks like, we lean towards people who have something to offer us. I think that probably the clearest place of this happening is if you think about like walking into class on the first day. I don't know about you, but whenever I walk into class on the first day, I look around and I kind of scope out, right? In high school, I would scope out and I would see either I'm sitting next to the guy who can help me with my test, who I can look at whenever we're taking tests, if you catch my drift, or the girl that I have a crush on, or the person that's really popular and really cool or funny or whatever is entertaining to be beside. Those are the people that I want to sit next to. I don't want to sit next to like the weird kid who smells funny, right? Like, and I think we all kind of do this whenever it comes to the people that we're friends with. And I'm not saying this again to like make us feel selfish or or tell you how that's bad or whatever, but it is kind of an idea to look at how we approach people that we usually don't approach. So today we're going to look at one more way that Jesus kind of did things differently. One more way that Jesus pulled himself out and did stuff differently. He paid attention to people who didn't have any ability to improve his comfort status, who didn't have any ability to to guarantee he was going to have a good time or that we're going to be able to return the favor or anything. And whenever it came to that group of people, to the people that we don't really pay attention to, Jesus didn't say, hey, make sure you say hey to them whenever you walk by them in the hallway. He didn't say, hey, make sure you're nice to them, even though that's a great start, sure. But instead, he challenged us to look out for opportunities to do things for him, to look out for opportunities to serve them. And I think that's really the key word whenever it comes to this message is serve. And whenever it comes down to, if we really think about it, whenever we get an opportunity to serve somebody, whether that's somebody that we know from school, somebody, whenever you drive by and see the homeless guy on the side of the road, or that person that you kind of know but you don't really pay attention to, or the person that's sitting by themselves at lunch, whenever we get that opportunity to serve people, most of the time we hesitate. And I think we do this because it's uncomfortable, right? Sometimes it's uncomfortable to stick ourselves out on a limb and to serve somebody that can't return the favor. It requires us to get out of our comfort zone, get out of our routine, and kind of step out and do something we're not used to doing. But getting involved sometimes means being pushed into unfamiliar areas with unfamiliar people, and do stuff that we usually wouldn't do. It moves us towards like shaking hands with that weird guy, or honestly, sometimes it looks like giving someone food or giving someone money, or maybe it's something as small as sitting next to the person that no one sits next to at lunch, or saying hey to the person that no one ever says hey for. And it's uncomfortable for a lot of reasons, but I think the main reason why it's so uncomfortable for us is because we never do it. We never take the opportunity. Maybe sometimes we do, but most of the time we don't take the opportunity to go outside of our comfort zone. And the truth is whenever you can't see any reward for what you do, you're taking a total risk to step out and do it. And in situations like this, I think the thing that most people do, or at least I know I'm guilty of this, if I see someone that no one's really talking to or no one's really hanging out with, or if I see an opportunity to serve somebody, the thing I always tell myself is, it's someone else is going to do it. Like if I see the homeless guy on the side of the road, I'm like, oh, someone else will stop and give him money. Or if I see the person sitting beside themselves at lunch, I'm like, oh, I'm sure someone's coming to meet them, or I'm sure their friend's on their way, or I'm sure they're whatever. And I always say, you know what? Someone else will probably do that. And I think the big question here is, what if we were that someone? If I had to guess, the people who followed Jesus probably felt the same way whenever it came to him going up to these people. They probably saw, and of course we see extreme cases in the Bible, right? We see people who have leprosy and people who are paralyzed and people who are in complete poverty, right? But I'm sure the disciples felt that same way. They either felt really uncomfortable, or hey, someone else is probably going to do it. Jesus, don't worry about it. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look back in Matthew 25, and Jesus tells this story, and he's actually telling it about the end time. He's actually telling it about the end of the world. And he doesn't tell it to like be weird or to scare us or freak us out, but it's honestly just to help us think about what really matters. And that's usually the point whenever he talks about that sort of stuff in the Bible, is to help us keep our minds set on what really matters. So we're going to read this whole passage. It's in Matthew 25, and then we're going to kind of step back and look at it closer. So what happens here is Jesus is telling this story about the king, and the king represents God. And he says, the king will say to those on his right, come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger and you invited me in. I needed clothes and you clothed me. I was sick and you looked after me. I was in prison and you came to visit me. Then the righteous will answer him. They'll say, Lord, when were you hungry and we fed you? When were you thirsty and we gave you something to drink? When did we give you clothes? When did we clothe you? When did we visit you whenever you were sick or in prison? When did we do that? And the king will reply, truly, I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. And that's kind of a crazy idea, but I love the story, and it's because it's not about like some huge, lots of times whenever we think about serving people or talking to the people that we don't really pay attention to, we think we got to do this huge thing where we have to start some big corporation or go downtown and feed every homeless person or whatever. But that's not what Jesus is talking about here. He's talking about the opportunities that we see from day to day to day. Sometimes as simple as giving someone a glass of water, or saying hey to someone or stopping by and giving them food, right? And Jesus is basically saying that God notices that stuff. And not only does he notice it, but whenever we do it for others, whenever we step out on a limb for other people, we're really doing it for God. The people who, whenever we serve others, we're serving God. And Jesus makes a point of saying that God notices every single time we do that. So it doesn't have to be like this big, crazy service thing, even though those are really awesome. But sometimes it's, again, as simple as sitting next to the person that no one's sitting with, or saying hey to the person that no one says hey to, or inviting the person along that never gets invited, right? Sometimes it's as simple as that, and he celebrates that. God celebrates every act of kindness, every gesture of service, and every movement towards helping out with the mess that sometimes people create. And whenever we can kind of shift that mindset to realize that serving is important to God, it puts a whole new spin on everything, because we realize that we're doing it for them. Or for him. So that means that basically that following Jesus means focusing on people who can do the least. So whenever we can change our aspect on this, it changes everything, because we realize that we're not just serving these random people, but we're also serving God. So basically what I'm trying to say is that following Jesus means focusing on people who can do the least. It means serving people who can't always return the favor. And again, it's not just the big stuff, but it's the little stuff too. It's basically like we sing in that song, Hosanna, sometimes. It's kind of an old song, but if you remember singing it, we sing, break our hearts for what breaks yours. And kind of what Jesus is saying here is, yeah, the big stuff breaks his heart too, but so does the little stuff, right? And our hearts need to be broken for that too. He's broken for the people who are the least powerful, the least popular, the least noticed, the least rich, the least able to take care of themselves, right? And sometimes it's so easy to continue to move towards the people who can do stuff for us, or the people who are already in our squad, that we forget about the people who can't do anything, or the people that we don't really pay attention to at all. And you know what the crazy thing is what always happens whenever we step out on a limb and we do something for somebody. What always happens whenever we serve people that we wouldn't normally serve, or we talk to the person that we wouldn't normally talk to, is it really ends up changing us. It really ends up helping us, because two things happen, right? The first thing that happens is whenever I get close to that person that I usually ignore, I realize they become a lot more human to me. Whenever I stop and talk to the homeless person on the side of the street, or I help someone out that I wouldn't normally help out, I realize that they're usually a lot more like me than I might think. And that they're people too that have a story and have a background and have all this stuff going on. And it's like, whenever I can bring that sort of person on the inside of my squad, on the inside of my friends, it changes everything, and it changes us, because they're never that different from who we are. And the second thing it does is it changes our lives. And this is a crazy thing, because this isn't just like, I know this message kind of sounds like, oh, we're supposed to go serve people because we're followers of Christ. And the crazy thing about that is it's not just Christians that realize this. There's actually study after study after study done at universities and by psychologists and outside of the church world that say that people who serve others are happier because of it. They're happier and they're more successful than those who don't. And that's a pretty crazy thing if you think about it. And if you've ever been to anything, like if you went to Nicaragua last year, or you went to Impact last year, which a lot of you guys did, you know that usually what ends up happening is we go to serve somebody, we go to help somebody, and it usually ends up helping us way more than it helps them, because it changes us, right? So the important thing to remember is that Jesus didn't just care about the big, huge movements, but he cared about the day-to-day stuff too, and that we can always be looking out for those opportunities. So what's that mean for us? It means to be on the lookout for people who can't always return the favor, and that you might not be able to identify what it's going to do for you, and it might be really uncomfortable, and it might be really weird or whatever. But the key, and it's not always to do some big crazy thing. The key is to just do something, anything. right? If you see these people at school, if you see the people that don't have a squad, right? Do the one thing that you can do for them. Be on the lookout for those opportunities to serve people, the people who, and maybe it's not at school, it's probably not the people who don't have enough food or the people who don't have enough water. Maybe it is, but probably not. But it might be the person who's not really popular, or the person who's always getting made fun of, or the person who doesn't have any friends, right? We have daily opportunities to serve these people and to step out on a limb and do these things for people. And whenever we do, it ultimately changes us because Christ cares about them. And whenever we're able to step out, it leads us to being more like him, right? So always be on the lookout for the people who don't have enough food, the people who don't have enough water, the people who don't have a place to stay, don't have clothes, right? Or who are sick or who are lonely, right? That's the big one that we might see day to day, because these are opportunities to serve. And whenever we serve these people, we're ultimately serving them. So whatever you do, right? Don't feel like it has to be something huge. Just do something.